The following program is brought to you by these partners. RSU Public Television presents the 2016 Tulsa Mayoral Debate featuring candidates Dewey, Bartlett Jr. and G.T. Bynum.
Hello and welcome. I'm Royal Ailes, General Manager of RSU Public Television, and you're watching RSU Public TV's Tulsa Mayoral Debate. And I want to welcome all of our viewers in tonight's debate. Thank you for watching. Now, if you're watching us because we're live on TV, but there are other ways to watch tonight's debate. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. But first, we're coming to you live from the Thomas K. McKeon Center for Creativity in downtown Tulsa at the Tulsa Community Center, or TCC's campus here in downtown Tulsa. I want to thank everyone for being a part of tonight's debate, our candidates and our partners. Our partners have played a big role in tonight's debate. They are the Tulsa World, KWGS Public Radio, Tulsa Regional Chamber, TCC, and Rogers State University. Now, if you're watching us, like I said earlier, there are other ways to watch us other than on broadcast. You can catch us live on the stream if you like. You can do that at RSU's website at rsu.tv, the Tulsa World website at tulsaworld.com, KWGS's website at publicradiotulsa.org, as well as it's being streamed on KWGS Public Radio right now. So we want to welcome all of our listeners from KWGS. The Tulsa Regional Chamber's website at tulsachamber.com and TCC's website at tulsacc.edu. Thank you so much to our partners. And now to our candidates. Standing to my right are our candidates. First is G.T. Bynum, current city councilor of District 9, and Dewey Bartlett, current mayor of Tulsa. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Now, here are some of the rules that we are going to go over. Each candidate will be given 60 seconds for an opening statement. They will be given 30 seconds for a closing statement. And the candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question asked, and then the rebuttal question, they will have 60 seconds. We have a timekeeper here who will be giving them signs as to how much time they have left within their allotted time to keep everyone honest. Now, we flipped the coin earlier as to who would get the opening statement, who would get the first question, and who would get the closing statement. And I am the moderator tonight. That's the only role that I am in here tonight for, but I do reserve the right to interject if I want clarification on an answer or clarification of a question or follow-up. Hopefully I won't have to do that. I'm not asking the questions. We have two gentlemen who are, and they are part of our partnership with KWGS Radio, John Durkee, the news director, and Wayne Green with the Tulsa World. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
Now let's get started. We don't have a lot of time tonight. Our opening statement from our coin toss goes to Mr. G.T. Bynum. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you again. I really appreciate you all hosting this. I'm G.T. Bynum. I've served 8 years on the city council, and I'm running for mayor because I think we can do better as a city. I'm so thankful for the generations of Tulsans that came before that never settled for less, never got too comfortable, that always decided they needed to work harder to build a better city for the next generation. That's why my wife and I are raising my kids, the 6th generation of our family, to live here. I'm running because I think we have work to do here in Tulsa. Our schools need our help. Our city is not growing fast enough. We're getting outpaced in job growth by regional competitors, and we're spending way too much time engaged in parochial fights when we need to be focused on competing at a national level. I think we need a mayor who will focus on changing those things for the better, and that's what I'm looking forward to talking with you about this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Bartlett, you have the floor.
The voters of Tulsa have a great opportunity to now continue the continuity of the success that we have had and is well documented over the past my two terms as mayor. When I first became mayor, I said that I would be the job-gettingest mayor that this city has ever seen. That's been delivered and accomplished. I point to the almost 29,000 jobs that we've experienced, new jobs, in the past 5 years. I said when I was sworn in office for my second term, we finally determined that it would be the first dedicated sales tax for public safety that we've ever had. We've accomplished and delivered on that promise. We've also said that we would run this government like a business. The business experience that I've had that I bring to the table is without parallel. That has been accomplished and delivered. We are now positioned for whatever comes down the road for us in the future, and that we will accomplish things beyond any kind of doubt. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now let's get right straight to the questions. The first question comes from John Durkee, KWGS Radio. John?
Gentlemen, you each have represented City Council District number 9, arguably the most affluent in our city. Other districts, however, are struggling. District 1 is considered a food desert. District 2 could be considered a rust belt. And District 6, while it has ethnic diversity, it lacks an economic engine. Considering the city's budget constraints, what can be done to create a closer economic parity across our city?
Mr. Bartlett.
I focus, I point to the accomplishments that I've had, John, with the 200 churches in our city that Victoria and I have attended since I've been mayor. What a great way to determine throughout the city all the different aspects of it and what they need, both from an economic standpoint as well as from a societal standpoint. And we've reacted accordingly. The experience that I've brought to the table as far as economic development goes, it means that we must go out not only into the community, but out in the state, out in the country, and out into the international market. And we have done that repeatedly, time after time after time. And we have brought back jobs. We brought back interest to where Tulsa is now not only economically relevant, but economically vital to the aviation industry, the energy industry, and all of those manufacturing companies that are located in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have the second highest number of people employed in manufacturing, for example, than anywhere in this country, other than Houston, Texas. We have had tremendous amount of success ever since I've been mayor. We had difficult times, we worked through them, but at the end of the day, the successfulness that spreads throughout our city is well documented. We must do everything we can, and we have done everything we can to bring people into the table, into the room, on the table, to accomplish the needs that they have throughout the city.
Mr. Bynum, you have 60 seconds for rebuttal.
I would just say, first of all, as a city councilor representing District 9, I've always thought that it was my job to represent my neighbors in District 9, but to be focused on the city as a whole. And so in my time on the council, I've focused on improving our infrastructure, providing for public safety, and supporting economic development initiatives like the recently passed Vision Initiative. But I think moving forward, the things that we can be doing to lift all Tulsans up in the best way is to work to make Tulsa the best place to get an education in the entire state of Oklahoma. We used to be regarded that way, but we're not today. When I say that we have work to do, I think that's the number one thing that we've got to do. The city has taken a pass for too long on true leadership and true partnership when it comes to working on education. I want our city to be a partner and an advocate for our schools, and as mayor, I will be a leader in that regard. It is not just an education initiative, it's an economic development initiative. The best way to lift all Tulsans up is by providing them with quality education.
Second question, we'll go back to Mr. Bynum, and Mr. Wayne Green from the Tulsa World will ask that question.
Councilor Bynum, you've said that if you're elected as mayor, you will be at the table during the next round of negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police. You've also received the endorsement of Fraternal Order of Police. Whose interest are you going to be representing in those negotiations, and what can you tell the voters to put their minds at ease about a conflict of interest there?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd say I've been endorsed repeatedly as a counselor by both our firefighters and our police officers because they know that I will be a champion for public safety. I've also never known our firefighters or our police officers to ask for anything that was unreasonable. But I do think that the mayor needs to have a role in the negotiations between the city and the FOP and the firefighters union. That's the single largest expense that we face as a city. I don't see how a mayor can pawn the greatest expense that we have off on staff and let them worry about the details and come in at the end. I have always worked as a counselor to be transparent in the work, the support that I've had from people and in the initiatives that I've pursued on the council. And in those negotiations, no one will have any doubt or any question about whose side I'm on. I'm going to be working to do the best for Tulsa, not treating it as an us versus them, which is what I think we've had too much of lately. We need someone who's an honest broker, who recognizes that our police and firefighters are heroes who are out there working to save citizens of Tulsa every day. But we also need someone who has a demonstrated track record as a fiscal conservative, and you can look at my record and see that I do. So I will be in those negotiations because I think the citizens of Tulsa hire a mayor to have an eye on detail and to be watching out for our greatest expenses, and there is no greater expense than our police and fire.
John, ask Mr. Bartlett the next question.
He has a rebuttal, doesn't he?
Oh, rebuttal. I'm sorry.
rebuttal.
Go right ahead.
That's okay. It is my position that the mayor is very involved. I have been very involved with the negotiations. The point is that before one negotiates, you absolutely never want to tell what your top line is. I negotiate from the position of doing what's in the best interest of the entirety of the city. The financial realities of our city are varied, and we have to negotiate from that position, from a position of strength. As you don't walk in the room and say, here's what we're going to pay right out of the chute, and this is what my top dollar is. That is the type of response that unfortunately Councilor Bynum gave to this question at a previous debate. That is simply not very smart negotiating skill. Never tell your opponent or the other people on the other side what you're willing to give up. You have to start from a position of solidarity, from a position of understanding what the financial realities are of our community. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we'll continue to do in the future.
All right, John, now you can ask Mr. Bartlett the next question.
Going all the way back to the Susan Savage administration some 25 years ago, Tulsa has had, at best, a rocky relationship with the county, most notably centered around the jail and its operation. What can be done to ensure a cohesive intergovernment relationship?
We have had intergovernment relationships that are very positive. I point to the city-county health department. The city-county library system works extremely well. We, the administration, the city council approves the appointments that I suggest. The county does the same thing, and it works extremely well. We're in the process now of trying to combine the city and county parks department. So there's a lot of discussion going on about that. And that to me is a good sign of what we have the capability of doing. Now obviously the jail has become a big issue. I'm one of the 7 trustees, and it's my fiduciary responsibility to do what's in the best interest of the jail, and obviously to do in what's best interest of the taxpayers of the city of Tulsa, since they pay far and away a majority of the expenses because of the tax that they pay. Whenever I see a situation come up where I feel that the funds are not being expended properly, I have no hesitation of saying and questioning the reason, the source, and the verification of why those funds were expended. We've seen, unfortunately, over the past year or so, some serious problems with the financial integrity and management of the jail. I brought those into question time and time again, and I will do so without hesitation in the future, because at the end of the day, the taxpayers that are paying for this are the same ones that I represent, same ones that are in the county as well.
Mr. Bynum, rebuttal?
Well, I think you see the disastrous outcome of the mayor's approach to negotiating when you look at our relationship with the county. The fact is that his approach to negotiation has led to a 5-year fight over the jail. It's led to police layoffs. It's led to losing an outlet mall because he wouldn't meet with the CEO of one of the largest outlet mall companies in the country when he came to Tulsa to somehow protect our negotiating strategy. I think that we have to overcome the system of local government that we have that made sense 100 years ago when it was created between the city and the county when we were a rural county, but today only serves as a distraction and a source of conflict. We need to go through, and I've talked with all the county commissioners about it, they agree. We need to go through function by function and identify who does it make sense to be providing each of the services that we provide in 2016, and then decide that, allow that entity to provide those services, and then move ahead and work together to compete at a national level again.
Wayne, you have the next question for Mr. Bynum.
Councilor Bynum, as the mayor referenced in his opening statement, he promised when he was first running for the office that he would be the job-gettingest mayor in the history of Tulsa. You can get different statistics on how that's going, but if you look at the December figures from the Employment Security Commission, what you see is that we've had an average net growth of 2,900 jobs per year over the 6-county metropolitan area, a portion, probably the greatest portion of those in Tulsa. Is that good enough?
No, it isn't. And what you've got to do when you're in competition is you have to measure yourself against your regional competitors. You can't just say that here's a number that sounds good, and so therefore we're doing a great job and we're wildly successful. The reality is when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics analysis, it shows that Oklahoma City in the 7 years that Mayor Bartlett has been mayor has outpaced us more than 2-to-1 in job growth. And I believe that's because Oklahoma City is focused on being nationally competitive. They've had a mayor who's been focused on being nationally competitive, and they've had a community that's been focused in that way. You don't see them focused on fighting with their neighbors and trying to tear their neighbors down and win parochial battles. So when I talk about reforming our city and our county government and that relationship, it's not just so that we can all lock arms and sing Kumbaya. The reason for it is because right now we have a distraction that distracts the mayor and the leadership of our city from being focused on national competition. And as long as the mayor is down fighting with the county over the jail or any other number of things, the mayor is not out finding opportunities for job growth in Tulsa and not making us nationally competitive. And the reality is in the 21st century, the great economic growth that we have at our disposal in this country is a national one. We are not going to grow our economy by winning parochial fights in the region.
Mr. Bartlett, rebuttal.
No, it's not ever good enough. We want to always create and absorb more jobs than we did the previous month, previous year, et cetera. That's always our goal, better and better and better, because every job we create means that that's an additional person, an additional family that stays here in Tulsa and becomes a productive citizen. It's an unfair comparison to look at Tulsa versus Oklahoma City because the Oklahoma City MSA is twice as large as the city of Tulsa. Now, what has happened in Oklahoma City, unfortunately, is that because of the energy industry, they've had very, very significant difficulties. We, on the other hand, have been able to absorb a very, very serious financial hit that the entire state is experiencing now because we have, under our leadership, diversified our economy in a much, much better way. Besides oil and gas, we have aviation, aerospace that we are focusing on. We also have, as I stated earlier, the second highest number of manufacturing jobs in the country. That's a huge, very, very diverse and very positive economy that helps our city absorb those kind of hits.
John, you have the first question from Mr. Bartlett.
We have seen a dramatic increase in residential living in downtown Tulsa. Yet, for the most part, retail has yet to follow. Is downtown living sustainable without a strong retail component? And please explain your position.
It is sustainable. Obviously, the retail component does make downtown living much easier. Retail development is something that we focused on tremendously over the past several years. We have 2 people that are hired, and their express purpose is to bring in retail development throughout the city. And we've had good accomplishment. We focus on Costco as a recent one. That was a big, big deal and is going to produce $1 million of tax revenue for the city of Tulsa. But downtown has experienced a tremendous amount of very, very positive growth. People are living there now. 10 years ago wasn't the case. What we have also been able to accomplish is an outgrowth of come to Tulsa, come to downtown. We have 2 projects now that are in the process of being put together, one of which is going to have several retail components, everything from a grocery store to a pharmacy to a dry cleaners. So what it takes? People. Now we have the people. Now it's the process of going out and promoting our city, promoting our downtown area, just to make certain that they are aware of the significance of what Tulsa is. We have a very serious buzz in our community that has made our city a very, very, very focused city to be examined. We are now receiving a lot of calls that are coming in saying, hey, what's the buzz in Tulsa? Why has Tulsa become such a big deal? Well, it's because we're successful, and that's the way I've governed this city.
Mr. Bynum, rebuttal?
I'd just say, if you look back at our history, in the 1970s, downtown was on the verge of becoming a warehouse district, and thank goodness that we had visionary corporate leadership here with John Williams in particular, who decided they were not going to allow downtown Tulsa to turn into a warehouse district. Instead, built the Williams Center, which has been a corporate anchor in downtown ever since. 30 years later, you had another great group of corporate leaders, people like Elliot Nelson and Blake Ewing, and young entrepreneurs, my generation, who decided they were not going to allow downtown Tulsa to fall by the wayside. That's the kind of spirit that I think we need citywide, not just in downtown Tulsa. We need to have people who are not willing to settle for less, not willing to let something that is a tremendous asset for us here in Tulsa fall by the wayside, but instead pull this city up by its bootstraps. Retail development in downtown Tulsa will come with the population growth, with the increase in residential development. I have no question and no doubt about it.
Wayne, you have the next question for Mr. Bynum.
Councilor Bynum, many questions and objections have been raised about a proposed development at 71st and Riverside Drive that would take land away from Helmrich Park. I'd like to hear from you today whether you support that project as it stands and why.
I think you have to look at this from two different issues. So overall, there's the underlying issue of a development that's been proposed at that site. But a great distraction from that, in my opinion, has been the way that it's been handled. Lousy public outreach, which only fostered, greater public suspicion about it. You've also had a tremendous public investment made in the Arkansas River in the last few months, overwhelmingly approved by the citizens, and the citizens are concerned about whether or not that investment they've made might be hindered by this. So I'm a big believer that the citizens of Tulsa, they paid for part of that land. They've paid to maintain that land for several decades now. They ought to have a say in what happens to it. They haven't really been given that. There have been a few little authority meetings, but I'm hopeful that we'll have an opportunity to have public hearings on this, that we'll have a meeting at the Tulsa City Council, and that people from all sides of this issue, whether they support it or don't support it, can come out and tell us what they feel about it. I'm not going to say today what I think about it one way or the other, because I want to hear what the citizens of Tulsa have to say about it. People have spent a whole lot more time than I have studying this and looking at it. I think the developer deserves an opportunity to have their fair say. And then I'm hopeful, and I really do believe, that we can work out an agreement in the long run through that process that will not be as combative as it's been for the last year.
Mr. Bartlett, you have a rebuttal.
You know, this is the crown jewel of our city, the river, the Arkansas River. We've tried for decades to put water in the river in a variety of fits and spurts, and now we finally have accomplished that. As I stated, we needed to focus on this about 3 years ago. So that's great news. When we have somebody that wants to develop a portion of our river, I say, hooray. Let's talk to them. Let's see what we can do and what they provide us and what opportunity they would provide, and will they fit in with the real mission of what the river is supposed to provide: attraction, economic development, entertainment, use. All of these things come together when the decision is finally made. In general terms, yes, I support development of our river, but it must be sensible. It must be done in a way that brings together the good people of our city to come to a common ground and develop it accordingly.
John, you have the next question for candidate Bartlett.
Sort of a follow-up to that, if I may. By design, Tulsa lives on a sales tax diet. Recently, we have lost to other communities several high-profile projects that would have pumped arguably millions into the Tulsa economy. Most recently, an outlet mall to be located at near the Turkey Mountain Wilderness. It moved to Jinx. What is the proper balance between building Tulsa's economy and preserving our past?
Well, that's a great question, John. It really is good, because it does fit in with the transparency that we must have when we do approach the development not only of our city, but especially of real crown jewel areas like the river or like Turkey Mountain. We must involve the public. We must involve all the players. We must involve not only those that we know today, but we must also consider what the future lies. When we put together a system where it has significant restrictions on it, those might be appropriate today, but are they going to be appropriate 10, 20 years from now or 30 years from now? Are they going to be so restrictive that they do not allow people the flexibility to invest good money into good projects to provide good opportunities for the citizens of Tulsa to enjoy it? If we simply stop development and don't allow it except for a privileged few, I think that's a very big mistake, because most of those properties, significant numbers of them, are paid for by tax dollars. The taxpayers have paid for those. They're responsible for them. It's their stuff. So if we get in the way of that, if we say that we know what's better, I think we're embarking on a dangerous trend. We have to be very, very definitive of what we want to do, approach it in a slow way, but we certainly can't react quickly, because that could really give us some bad problems and make a big mistake.
Mr. Bynum, rebuttal.
I think you have to provide for predictability, both for the citizens of Tulsa and for developers. I think it gives Tulsa a terrible reputation with the development community when you have people, as you did with the Outlet Mall, as you do right now at 71st and Riverside, where you have good people willing to invest money in our community, and they come here being told that everything's all set up and ready to go, and then they get here and walk into a buzzsaw. We need to have predictability. That's one of the reasons that I called for over a year ago for the development of an overlay along the Arkansas River, which a number of Tulsans, both in the development community and in the preservation community, have worked together to develop. The mayor has said he has concerns about it, that he doesn't think we ought to do something like that. But I believe we've got to provide greater predictability both for our citizens and for the development community moving forward. And that type of exercise, where the public is engaged, the public has an opportunity to participate, creates that opportunity for predictability when it comes to development.
Well, gentlemen, we're halfway through our debate, and you both are doing great, so keep hanging in there if you would. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to go back to John Durkee for the next question, this time to Mr. Bynum.
Once known as America's most beautiful city, those wildflower plot signs are really not fooling anyone. Tulsa needs to mow. If I let my grass grow that high, chances are I would get cited. And some say it's not really fair. The city's not playing by its own rules. What should be done to get the grass cut in a timely manner?
Great. I think that the main thing we have to do is look at within our budget how often we're providing for mowing cycles. You're right, John. Tulsa was once known as America's most beautiful city. Again, that was a time when we aimed high and wanted to compete at a national level, back when we were known as the oil capital of the world. We need to get back to that. We have a strong interest here in our philanthropic community that's funding things like wildflower plots around town. But when it comes to mowing the grass, I'd ask you, if your neighbor mowed their grass 5 times a year, do you think that would make your house look good? And yet that's the number of mowing cycles that's been proposed in the budget that the mayor sent to the council this year. Well, thankfully, there are a number of councilors, Councilor Phil Lakin in particular, that recognize that as an issue and are working to reassign funds within our budget before the council votes on it later this month, to make sure that we have the proper number of mowing cycles. It's so important that when people are here, when they're driving around town, and when people are visiting Tulsa, that they see that we take pride in our city. The original article in Reader's Digest that talked about Tulsa being America's most beautiful city talked about the focus that the city placed on keeping Tulsa clean and attractive. That's something that we have to get back to. We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Mr. Bartlett, rebuttal.
Well, we have to look at the entirety of the question, John. Of course, it'd be nice if we did mow 10 or 15 times a year, a season would be great, but we have to live within our budget. We have the reality that this time in the last budget cycle, we had limited funds, so we have to set priorities. So if we have a choice between having more mowing cycles or being able to add more police into our academies, I think the public would like us to see to take the latter, and that's exactly what we've done. We do live within our means. We do as best we can with the equipment and the funds we have available, but we can't put in a secondary position the main priority we have in this city, and that's a safe public safety. Whatever that might be, that's the first focus. When we do have 5 mowing cycles, that's okay.
Wayne, you can ask Mr. Bartlett the next question.
Mayor Bartlett, this year's budget proposal includes a utility rate increase. There was one last year. There's one on the books planned for next year. Yet the water seems the same to the people drinking it. The sewage system seems about the same. What are we getting for all that money?
Well, we're getting a very, very good system. This is not Flint, Michigan. We have a very, very, very good system of water, and we're very fortunate to have it. It's one of the real assets we have as a community. There are people all over this part of the region of the United States that would do anything to get hold of access to our water. What we do have is a system that is getting a little bit of age to it. We do have to implement a lot of infrastructure needs. We have to replace water lines consistently. Every time we have a strong heating and cooling cycle, we all see the result of the expansion of the clays in our soil when we have water pipes burst. But they only burst in certain areas of town, and it's in those areas that the pipes are the oldest and the least fragile. So we have to replace a lot of these things, and that costs a tremendous amount of money. We have a very good system of oversight with the Tulsa Metropolitan Utility Authority. We have very good city employees that have a tremendous amount of experience in dealing with these issues. But it does cost a little bit of money. We try to keep our rates as low as possible. As far as I'm aware, most of our rates are very, very competitive and normally lower than the rest of the country. It's one of our real true assets that we use when we attract business to Tulsa. Not only the water rates, but the quantity and the quality of the water. That is a tremendous selling point that brings a lot of business to Tulsa, that fact alone.
Mr. Bynum, rebuttal.
I would say what Tulsans see right now when they see these rate increases is that they are paying the price for political decisions that were made over a decade ago. We went for a decade here in Tulsa with elected officials making a political decision not to increase rates in spite of the fact that it was recommended that they do so. And so our utility authority was put in the position of either allowing the system to fail or taking on debt to keep it running. And so today, now that you have a city council in place that is willing to have our rates only at a level that pays for the service that is provided, we're not only having to pay for that service, we're also having to pay off all that debt that got racked up for a decade while politicians made a decision not to charge people the rates that were needed to maintain the system. The last thing is that we've now moved all our capital projects within our utilities over to the rates, which I think is a more fair system and freed money up for us to spend on fixing our streets, which had gone way too long without proper maintenance and upkeep.
John, you can ask Mr. Bynum the next question.
Today marks the end of the 95th anniversary of the Tulsa race riot. I would like to hear each of you discuss race relations in Tulsa, what is working and what is not.
This is for me, correct?
Yes.
Great, thank you. You know, running for mayor was not an easy decision for me to make. I've known the mayor growing up. I like him on a personal basis. And my wife and I thought about it for a long time and weighed our options. And what it ultimately, if I had to say there was one moment when we decided that I needed to run, was when we learned that the average child that's born today in North Tulsa is expected to live 12 years less than a kid that's born in South Tulsa. And for us, we decided we would do anything we could to change that. And with the opportunity to run for mayor staring us in the face, we decided to take it. And so that's one of the main things I want to accomplish and the main reasons I'm running. That is a shameful statistic for us to have in Tulsa. And it's something that all Tulsans that I've spoken with believe we need to pull together as a city to change. I think that there can be nothing that we could do to properly commemorate and honor the disaster and the horrors of the 1921 Tulsa race riot 5 years from now than to be able to say that we've made progress there, that we've improved lives for children in North Tulsa, and we've made it to where they have an equal chance at having a wonderful life to any kid in this city. We have a lot to go, a long way to go on race relations, a lot of conversations that need to be had. But I think that improving the lives of children in North Tulsa needs to be one of our top priorities as an entire city.
Mr. Bartlett, rebuttal, please.
Well, it takes a lot of work and not just talking about the issue. We understand very well the documentation that's been provided, the seriousness, the terrible race riot that occurred. But what we've done in our administration, we've reached out. And not only reached out, but we participate throughout the entirety of our city. The 200 churches that I mentioned earlier that Victoria and I have gone to and participated. We picked those starting in North Tulsa, in the African American community primarily, and then also in the Hispanic communities. We were able to establish rapport and relationships that have come to bear in so many things since then. The economic development outlook that we've had has been improved. Because of the outreach that we've had, we focus on the areas of Tulsa that have not participated in the economic expansion of our city in the past. That is changing. With the job creation that we've accomplished, with the job creation and training available to us, when we focus on that in the high schools, then that's when things are really going to come to bear, and jobs will be created very, very quickly.
Thank you, sir. Wayne, you may now ask the question to Mr. Bartlett.
Mayor Bartlett, for quite some time now, the city's been locked in a conflict with the county over how much they get to charge for Tulsa prisoners in the jail and which prisoners they get to charge it for. And in that process, a lot of your suspicions about the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office budget numbers have proven to be pretty accurate. At the same time, I get the sense that that the citizens are tired of the conflict. They want this. They want the issue resolved. How do you see this playing out, and how soon do you see it playing out?
Well, I think it could be played out very quickly. I mean, we've done our fiduciary responsibility to point out the problems. As I mentioned earlier, they were real. They were the type of situation that was very, very expensive, that the public was paying for improperly in many cases, and it just wasn't right. That's not the way that I have governed the city of Tulsa, and it's certainly not the way that I took my fiduciary responsibility. I think it'll play out in a positive way. How long? Don't know. It always takes several people to get together to come to a conclusion and find that common ground. And we have come to common ground numerous times, yet to be thrown apart by an attorney walking in the room at the wrong time, things such as that. But I feel very strongly that when this jail was first created, it was a smart thing to do, because why should we have two jails in one city? And so we came together as a community and we decided this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a jail that's going to house municipal prisoners as well as those that are picked up on state and federal charges. And it worked extremely well, extremely well. Lately, because of certain policies that were enacted by the sheriff's office, things really came apart. But now we have a new sheriff, and hope springs eternal. We have a new group of people that are getting involved, and certainly the trustees of the jail authority have a very, very positive attitude that this is an opportunity for us now to get back to doing business properly.
Mr. Bynum, rebuttal.
The reality is Mayor Bartlett has been fighting with the county over the jail for his entire term in office. So we need to, if you think that anything is going to change in his third term that didn't happen in his first two, I don't see how you can come to that conclusion. All history is to the counter of that. I have a good working relationship with our county commissioners. When it looked like we were heading to an impasse over Improve Our Tulsa, and it looked like there could be a fight and a potential tax increase on the ballot there, Councilor Phil Lakin and I sat down with Commissioner Ron Peters and worked out an agreement. When we were working on vision, and it looked like there might be a conflict there, again, I sat down with county commissioners and worked out an agreement. And I will bring that same approach, that same good working relationship with the county commissioners to my time as your mayor. I think that we need to remember that everyone that lives in the city of Tulsa, with a few exceptions, is also a resident of Tulsa County. So when you have the city and the county fighting, you're fighting with yourself. And I don't think that's a useful exercise for any of us.
John, you have a question for Mr. Bynum.
Both of you have mentioned this evening the importance of education. Well, the state Supreme Court today said it's official. The education sales tax will be on the ballot in November. I would like to know each of your positions on that hike and why.
Well, I think that, obviously, I believe as a city official that sales tax, unless things change at a state and federal level, is an outmoded form of revenue. We've seen more and more of it go on to the internet every year and be free from taxation. So I don't think that this is a good long-term solution, but I do think it's a necessary short-term solution. I have confidence in President Boren. I don't think there's anyone in this state that has done more for education than David Boren. And if he believes that this is necessary to prevent us from going to a time where we would have our classrooms open for 4 days a week, then I think it's a necessary stopgap measure. But I think we also have to look at the long term. I think this is an oxygen line that allows us more time, it buys us time to look at a better long-term solution that we as a state can unify behind, and then do away with this sales tax, because I don't think it will be a useful long-term solution for funding education. But I think we have to be mindful of the alternative. Do we think that we'll be nationally competitive as a city if we have kids in class only 4 days a week instead of 5? Do you think companies move to states or cities with that kind of school attendance? Do you think kids get great education with that kind of attendance? No. And so this is a dire situation. This is a time to put service ahead of politics, and I will always do that as your mayor.
I have a follow-up question to that, Mr. Bynum. Since the mayor has no real authority over Tulsa schools, how can you be effective in doing what you've just said? And I'm going to give you only 15 seconds to answer.
Because the mayor is the leader, the CEO of the city of Tulsa. The mayor can be an advocate at the state capitol, just as David Boren, who's a university president, holds no official title in the state government with the executive or legislative branch, is leading this initiative. As your mayor, I will be an active advocate at the state capitol on behalf of education interests.
Mr. Bartlett, same question to you. Go ahead and answer, and I'm going to give you a minute, 15 seconds as I have given him.
This is a very, very difficult situation because I am a very, very strong proponent of education, and obviously the funding is a serious, serious problem. However, I'm also mayor of a city, and every municipality in this state will be hurt in a very, very high degree if this permanent sales tax is passed. It's a very tough situation for each and every one of the mayors to have to deal with this kind of thing, because it makes each city, Tulsa in particular, much less competitive to our neighboring states when they can say, don't buy anything in Tulsa, buy it in Kansas or Arkansas or Missouri or on the internet, because we charge either less sales tax or no sales tax. That's the type of situation that we are putting into. What I feel is the solution is for the legislature, as I suggested several times, is to get rid of the requirement that all cities must have as their only source of tax revenue, sales tax. Give us, the cities, the opportunity to have a vote where we can vote and make a decision ourselves on how we want to tax ourselves to help not only the city government, but if education is also on the table, let's talk about that as well. That is an opportunity that we must be given. It's a local issue. It's the right thing to do.
Wayne, you have the question for Mr. Bartlett.
Mayor Bartlett, as long as I lived in Tulsa, I've heard people talk about bringing more efficiency to city and county government. Just a few minutes ago, Councilor Bynum made reference to that idea in one of his comments. Will you commit tonight to the long-term goal of unified city-county government?
No, I will not, but I will commit to the short-term goal of unitizing city-county departments where it does make sense, as we're trying to do now with the City and County Parks Department. That to me is a much more attainable goal than something like a unified countywide system. I think that'd be very difficult to do. If you can imagine trying to put together two policing departments, the Sheriff's Department and the Tulsa Police Department and all other police departments in the county, of which there are probably 7 or 8. Each of them have a variety of different restrictions, requirements, educational standards, pensions, all of this sort of thing. It'd be very, very difficult to do. In my opinion, if we're going to try to accomplish that, we must start with something that's attainable. We've already done the city-county library system, health department, working on the county parks department now, city-county parks department. Those are the type of things that I think that they are achievable. And they're achievable because we have such a good, solid group of people on both sides of the issue willing to compromise and talk. When I've had the ability to work with the county on other issues, such as trying to share medical facilities, for example, we've worked that out very well, and the taxpayers are the recipient of savings. We've done that continuously ever since I've been mayor. We have a good opportunity to work to continue the successfulness that we've had with the county, and to me, trying to unify both governments at this time would be very non-productive.
Mr. Bynum, you have rebuttal.
Well, you know, there are two different approaches that you see at cities around the country on this approach. They can either take the wholesale merger of city government and county government, or they can do it function by function. I think all options ought to be on the table while we have those discussions, but I think probably looking at our history as a community, the smart way is to do it function by function. That being said, I have no confidence that Mayor Bartlett can actually do that in the next 4 years, because of the disastrous way that he's gone about negotiating with the county over the jail for the last 4 years. He's torched his relationship with them to the point where there is no trust. You have to have a relationship of trust between the mayor and the county commissioners to be able to enact that type of major initiative. And you have to be willing to give up turf. We as the city of Tulsa have to be willing to say, you know what, it does make more sense for the county to be doing this. We're not going to sit here and try and protect our parochial home ground here. We are willing to cede that if it makes more sense and the county can provide better customer service. I think those are the types of efficiencies I'd like to see us do in modernizing local government in the next 4 years.
John, next question for Mr. Bynum.
There have been allegations that officers have paid other officers to retire so that they could move up in rank within the police department. It's something that's been going on in the department for years, but only recently came to light. Both of you have said that it doesn't pass your personal smell test. I would like to know, in your term of mayor, if you're elected, what should or should not be done about this situation?
Well, I think first of all, I will leave it to the lawyers to determine if this is legal or illegal. I'm not an attorney, and we have a very good, competent city legal staff who's been looking into this. It's taking a little while for them to reach their conclusion, but I hope that they will soon. The real question for me, though, is whether or not this is something we ought to be doing moving forward, and the question, or the answer, in my mind, is unquestionably no. I think that regardless of what's happened in the past, I think it puts all of our officers in a negative light, unnecessarily. There are a lot of really good officers in the Tulsa Police Department who have worked for decades to earn everything that they have as members of our department. And for a story like this to come out, I think it unfairly casts a negative light on that hard work, and they deserve better than that. So I think that moving forward, we have to have a policy that says this is not allowed, but also say that this is one of those negative consequences of the mayor's hands-off management style. If you saw in the paper, you saw that both of the police chiefs that have served under him acknowledged that they knew this was going on, and yet he said it was a surprise to him. We need to have a mayor that is engaged in the negotiation process, that's engaged with our police department, and that isn't caught by surprise when things like this come up.
Mr. Bartlett, rebuttal?
Well, first of all, I don't think that our current police chief made that statement. Secondly, it is a type of situation that is not good. It doesn't look good at all, and I do believe it does not pass the smell test, as you stated. Paying for stripes, it does appear that gives somebody an advantage, and I simply cannot accept that. That's why we're in the process of preparing an executive order that will put it to an end immediately. We will then embark upon a course of making a determination of what illegalities might have occurred, what unethical violations might have occurred, and take it in a very slow, methodical way to see what steps we further can take or what we must take. But having the executive order out will probably be out within a week, and that will put it to a stop without hesitation. We've been very involved with this issue, and we have found out that the Tulsa Fire Department had a similar problem a few decades ago, and they dealt with it in a very good, positive way, and we plan on implementing those particular policies as soon as we can.
Wayne, you have the next question from Mr. Bartlett.
Mayor Bartlett, you've proposed publicly that a solution to the city's long-term budget problems would be for the state to allow cities to shift a portion of their tax bases from sales taxes to property taxes. But you've also said that that needs to be done in a revenue-neutral fashion, so that it doesn't represent an increase in the tax burden on the citizens. Since the city wouldn't end up with any more money in that situation, why is that an improvement?
I think it's an improvement, Wayne, because sales taxes are very volatile. They ebb and flow with the local economy. Other forms of taxation would probably be much more consistent. I think it has to be revenue neutral in order to gather favor with the voting public. Just in the same fashion that I stated 3 years ago when we came up with the idea of voting to extend the expiring sales tax, that it had to be done without a tax increase in order to support public safety, et cetera. If we start increasing taxes now, especially if it appears to be a tax increase in the sales on any side, I think that would be a problem. That's why it must remain revenue neutral, and takes away that argument.
Mr. Bynum.
Well, I think that I support the notion of diversifying our revenue. If you look at your own investments, you don't want to have it all in stocks that are more volatile than bonds. You want to have diversification. Well, as a city, we should have the same thing. I'm a participant in a national city efficiency program, and when I tell other cities how reliant we are on sales tax, they're horrified that we're so reliant on it. So I agree with the need to diversify. The issue I have here are two things, actually. First, the mayor's been talking about this as an issue for years, and yet no piece of legislation's been introduced at the state level to change it. Members of our own delegation here from Tulsa, just a matter of a couple months ago, were caught by surprise and didn't even know it was an issue. We need to have an actual legislative strategy to change this. But the real issue we face in Tulsa isn't the diversification of our taxes, it's that we're not growing. Tulsa's population overall has been stagnant for 15 years, and it's because we've been too focused on parochial fights and not focused on national competition.
Gentlemen, we're coming to the end. We have one last question before we go into our closing statements. I'm going to give that question to Wayne. Wayne, for Mr. Bynum.
Councilor Bynum, as you think of the long-term future of the city of Tulsa, what's keeping you awake at night?
What keeps me awake at night when I think about Tulsa's long-term future is honestly just concern that people have given up on aiming high here. Concern that the days when people thought we ought to be America's most beautiful city and thought we ought to be the oil capital of the world have gone by the wayside, and that people have grown comfortable to being complacent, comfortable being second place to Oklahoma City in our state, comfortable with competing with Owasso and Broken Arrow instead of competing with cities like Austin and Denver and Chicago. And that's why I'm running, because I think that we've got to wake up. We need to quit settling for less. We need to be focused on aiming higher. We can't accept that the way things are right now is just fine. That's not what made Tulsa great in the 20th century. That's not what built all the things that I love about this city and made it the kind of place that when my wife and I, when we decided and we could live anywhere in America, there was nowhere in this country we wanted our kids to grow up other than Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's because people, the generations before us, had that mindset. I'm hopeful that we have that mindset here in Tulsa. And I think this election is going to be a test of that. I really do. And we'll see what the outcome is on June 28th. If people want to unite and aim higher, or if they think that things are just fine and they're comfortable settling for less.
Mr. Bartlett, rebuttal.
What keeps me awake at night, it has to do with security, and not necessarily the security of our police department, but our national security, because in my view, we still are not doing a very good job of controlling our borders. We have very, very high profile targets that are in the Oklahoma area. One in particular is at Cushing, Oklahoma, which is like the interstate crossroads of each and every pipeline that's carrying crude oil, natural gas, jet fuel, etc., to and from refineries to all different parts of our country. If it were to be bombed, if something were to happen to it, it would have a tremendous negative impact upon the economic security and the vitality of our country, not just the city of Tulsa, but our country. We have to control the borders of our country in a much more progressive, aggressive way, not to the extent that some are talking at the national level, but to the extent that makes good sense where people do enter this country, that they're kept track of, we know where they are and what they're up to.
Well, gentlemen, we want to thank you for the debate, and it's been very good, very vigorous. We appreciate that very much. It is now time for our closing remarks. Each candidate gets 30 seconds. We begin with Mr. Bynum. Mr. Bynum.
Hi, my name is Paul Tay, and I'm also running for mayor. These gentlemen have
Hey, Paul.
spoken
Hey,
some
Paul.
great
Paul.
words.
Paul.
Told
But
you.
I deserve my time.
Hey,
there
Paul.
are 5
Mr.
candidates here. I deserve my time.
Paul.
You are blocking
Hey, Paul.
our time. I have
Paul.
a voice, sir. I have a voice, and I will do it. I will say
This
it.
is not the platform.
It is the platform. It is the platform.
No, it is
You
not.
are blocking other voices. We have other voices, sir.
I'm going to ask you to step off.
No, I will not.
Please step off.
I will not step off. I will not step off. You get it? Turn it off.
Let's get security.
Turn it off. Get it. Go get it. Turn it off.
Mr. Tay, please step off. We're
No.
asking you to please.
No. You have blocked me one too many times.
Program has been made possible by these partners.